Hello, my name is John Bessire. In this game, Peter's going to be demonstrating a game called Thurn and Taxis. This game takes place in the 15th century in southern Germany. It's about the first postal system where the object of the game is trying to connect the various cities together. And Peter will explain how the game is played.
Hi, so as John said, this game is Thurn and Taxis, and this game is exciting because it won the Spiel des Jahres last year in Essen, Germany, and that is the large international game prize. That's like the Academy Award for games. And any game that wins the Spiel des Jahres is guaranteed to be a success in Europe, and often is a success in the United States as well. In this game, it's a typical European-style game in that we're trying to build systems and economies. And in this particular game, we are all trying to set up postal services. And the player that sets up the first comprehensive postal service wins the game. So what do? It's quite a simple game. In your turn, you take cards from this bank of cards over here, and these cards have names of cities on them. So during my turn, I will take one or two cards. In this case, I will go ahead and take two cards. So I'll take Ulm, and Ulm is a city right here, and it's green, and it's in the green area. And I will also take Sigmaringen, which is also a green city right next to it, and I will place those in my hand. Later, I will replace these two cards. Later in my turn, I will play a card in front of me as a postal route. So I'm going to go ahead and play Ulm in front of me. Now I've started my first postal route. Other players play going around the table, Now on my next turn, I will take more cities. So I will take Kempten. And you'll notice that Kempten is also near Ulm and Sigmaringen. And then I will play cards. And during this turn, I will play two cards down, Sigmaringen and Ulm and Kempten. And now I have a route that is 3 spaces long. At this point, I can cash in this route and put down some houses. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. So I'm going to play this route, and I'm going to put down a house on each of these 3 cards. So I'm going to place a house on Ulm, and I'm going to place a house on Sigmaringen, and I'm going to place a house on Kempten. And then I throw this route away, and I'll have to start a new route next turn. Now, how do you score victory points? You'll notice that there is a little stack of chips right here in the middle of the green provinces. It has both colors of green represented. If I successfully get houses in all green areas, then I get to take this victory point chip and put it in front of me. Now I've scored 3 victory points. On later turns, if I get all the houses in the blue areas, I can then score the blue victory point chip. Now, to really score victory points, you need to make long routes. So, for example, later in the game, let's say I hadn't cashed that in and I'm still working on this route, I can add Zurich, which is attached to Kempten, and then I could add Basel, which is attached to Zurich. Now I've got a route that's 5 cards long, and that starts getting into higher scores. If I'm the first or second person to turn in a route with 5 houses, I can take this chip here that says it's a 5-length route, and I place that in front of me. Now I'm really starting to get some victory points. When you trade in a route, you also get these cards from the top of the table that are length of route cards. The first one you complete for 3, you take that and put it in front of you. On a later turn, if I complete a route that's at least 4 long, I can take the 4 card. On a later turn, if I complete a route that's at least 5 houses long, I could take this. On a later turn, if I complete a route that's at least 6 cards long, I take this. And finally, at the end of the game, the first player to take the 7-length route card immediately starts the final round of the game, and the game ends. You'll notice that each one of these cards has a little victory point shield in the corner. So if I complete a route that's 7 cards long, I'll get 10 victory points, which is quite a big payoff. So the game keeps playing until somebody takes the final 7-length route card, or somebody's gotten rid of all their houses, and then there's a scoring round. I score for all the chips that I have in front of me. I score for all these route cards that I've collected, and that's my score. And then I score negative points for any houses left in my hand. So you don't want to end the game too soon if you have a lot of houses still left in front of you, because those will all be negative points. And in a nutshell, that is how you play Thurn and Taxis. It's a quite easy game. I've played with children as young as 8, even though the box recommends 10 and older. It's quite a quick game. You can play in around 45 minutes, and the turns go around very fast. So you play, your opponent plays, goes around the table very quickly, and it's a cute little game. And that is Thurn and Taxis.
On the next game is called Siesmic, which is about the building highways. You also have the problem of during building highways there'll be earthquakes. And name a guy named Ted Alsbach. He's the one that designed the game. He'll be explaining more about how to play the game itself. And Ted, would you explain the rules to us?
Hi, I'm Ted Alsbach. I'm the designer of Siesmic from Atlas Games. It's a tile lane game where you're trying to build highways and all the while trying to avoid earthquakes that are coming up occasionally. The way the game works is on your turn, 2 tiles will be out on the table. You turn over another tile, and then you can place that tile any place on the board where it makes sense. So connecting a highway to another highway like this. And then you take one of your markers and place it on that road to show that you own that road. The object is to make as many completed highways as possible. A completed highway is one that has 2 ends. So for instance, a road that starts here and ends up back at San Andreas would be a completed highway, and you score points for the 2 ends plus each tile that's in between the ends. What's interesting about this, though, is occasionally you might turn up an earthquake. So if you turn over an earthquake during the turn, what will happen is that tiles get destroyed. The magnitude of the earthquake determines how many tiles actually get destroyed. And what you do when you turn over a tile is you look to see which direction coming out of San Andreas has the most tiles built. That's the area that's going to be affected. In this case, we've got 3 tiles going this way, which is more than the 1 here, 2 here, and 2 here. So this would be the section that's destroyed. Up to 4 tiles are destroyed, so we actually go ahead and pull out those tiles, take the markers off, and the game continues. Those actually go out of the game entirely. There are 6 different earthquakes in the game, ranging from 1 to 6. But the interesting thing is you never know how many earthquakes there are in the game, because at the beginning you kind of randomize it, and there can be anywhere from 0 earthquakes to 6. And so throughout the game there's this tension of not knowing where the earthquakes are, how big they will be, and when they're going to hit. And you can actually kind of control where the earthquakes are going by building out in a certain direction more than your opponents, keeping the earthquakes away from where you're building and trying to have it affect your opponents instead. At the end of the game, the person with the most points from the most completed roadways is the winner. So I've also designed a couple expansion maps for Age of Steam. Age of Steam is a very popular train game where you're creating routes to deliver goods across different cities and different areas, and you're defining kind of where your track goes and how the goods are delivered. And the base game comes with a very basic map of the northeastern United States. And what I've done, I've designed a bunch of maps, one for Northern California, one for Pennsylvania, and a couple other themed maps that players can use to kind of change the experience a little bit of the game itself.